Today, we're going deep on a pretty wild concept, a totally new way to think about global coordination called the Zyro Hive. And look, this isn't just another app or platform. The source material talks about it as a living, planetary scale system, one that's designed to solve some of the most fundamental problems we face. So yeah, let's get into it.
Everything kicks off with this really powerful idea: we live in geometric exile. So what on earth does that mean? Well, it suggests that our organizations, our communities, and even we as individuals are all kind of like disconnected dots. We're stranded in systems that are fundamentally incomplete. We're cut off from the whole. And that exile, it turns out, has a staggering cost.
And here's that cost in black and white: $7 trillion. I mean, to put that in perspective, that is more than the entire yearly economy of every country on Earth, except for the US and China. The source calls this the coordination tax. It's the price we pay every single year for this deep architectural failure, for living in exile.
Okay, so let's really unpack this problem of incomplete circuits. The idea here is that our current systems, corporations, governments, you name it, they're just not built to finish the job. It's like they're wired to compete and extract, but they can't connect all the dots to regenerate the very things they rely on.
And this slide, this is where it really clicks. On the left, you've got triangular systems. Think about a basic transaction: a buyer, a seller, and the product. 3 points is a triangle, but it often just stops there. It's incomplete, it's extractive, and a lot of the time, it's zero-sum. The proposed shift is over to the right: quadrangular systems. You add a 4th point, regenerating the source. Suddenly, the system becomes complete, regenerative, and mutually reinforcing. It's a totally different shape, a whole new geometry for how we do things.
Now, the problem gets even trickier because this isn't happening on just one level. We're living across 4 different scales at the same time: the planetary scale, the geographic places we live in, the organizations we build, and our own human consciousness. Each one has its own rules, its own rhythm, and we keep trying to solve these complex 4-scale problems with single-scale thinking. It's just not working.
So if the old systems are so flawed, how do we possibly fix them? Well, here's the core insight, and it's a big one. You don't. You don't try to fix the old machine. The solution is found by building in an entirely new space.
And this is the key. The real breakthrough happens in what the source calls the interstitial space, that neutral, sovereign territory that exists between all our existing companies, our governments, our silos. This is supposedly the only place where you can actually solve those big, multi-scale problems, the only place where that quadrangular completion we just talked about is even possible.
All right, so we've got the why and the where, the space between systems, but how does it actually work? This is where we get into the engine that's designed to make all this new coordination happen.
So meet Carly. And it's really important to get this. This is not just another AI. Carly is presented as a recursive proof engine. What does that mean in plain English? Think of it as a system that's constantly checking if a really complex project, one that involves the environment and businesses and people, is actually healthy and sustainable on all levels. It's like a metabolic translator, helping all these different scales, from the planet down to a person, finally speak the same language.
So how does Carly do this? It's always running through this cycle of 5 key questions. First up, completable geometry. Basically, does the plan even make sense on paper? Can the circuit close? Second, executable coordination. Okay, great idea, but can all the different groups involved actually work together to pull it off? Third, measurable improvement. Does doing this actually create verifiable harmony, and that harmony is measured across what the source calls EOSF, that's environmental, operational, social, and financial health. We'll touch on that again in a second. Fourth, sustained resilience. Great, it works now, but can it survive shocks and changes down the road? And finally, the 5th proof, recursive propagation. Does this success make the whole system stronger and smarter for the next time around? It's this constant loop of proving and improving.
And this slide? This just nails the goal perfectly. It's all about creating a quadrangular metabolism. This is that regenerative cycle we were talking about, a loop where environmental health actually supports operational success, which then funds social well-being, which in turn builds financial trust, and that trust then makes it possible to reinvest in the environmental health where it all started. It's a self-reinforcing loop of total health.
So where is all this heading? Well, this is where it gets really ambitious. This whole infrastructure, it isn't designed to just stay a niche tool for a few projects. The long-term vision is for it to evolve into something much, much more fundamental: a living, planetary-scale coordination substrate, a new ground layer for our economy.
And there's actually a roadmap for this. Phase 1 in the next couple of years is all about laying the foundation, getting those first metabolic cycles running. Then, phase 2 is the tipping point. That's when network effects are supposed to kick in, and this becomes a real viable alternative. And then, phase 3. We're talking 2031 and beyond. That's where this thing could become a primary economic plane, a true substrate where coordination just happens.
Now, what about the money? This is where it gets really, really different. In this model, a whopping 98% of the value that's created goes directly to the people and organizations actually doing the work, the proof agents. And that other 2%? It's not profit for some company in the middle. It gets reinvested to maintain the neutral, shared infrastructure itself. Think of it like a tiny maintenance fee to keep the whole ecosystem healthy for everyone.
This just flips the whole script on what it means to be successful. You know, in our world today, getting alpha is about extracting the most value for yourself, beating the market. But in this new model, true alpha, the absolute best return you can get, comes from making the entire system healthier and more capable. You win by making the whole system more alive.
Okay, so we've been talking about these massive, planet-scale architectural ideas, but what does this actually mean for us, for you and me? This is where it gets personal. What's our role in all this?
Well, in this new kind of system, our roles get a serious upgrade. A leader isn't just optimizing for profit anymore, they're orchestrating the health of a whole system. A professional isn't just making a transaction, their work is a direct contribution to this wider metabolism. Even a regulator's job changes, from just controlling old markets to actually helping create the rules for brand new ones to emerge safely.
And that brings us right here, to the final, really stark choice that the source material lays out. On the one hand, we can remain a stranded vertex, an isolated part of a system that's falling apart. Or, on the other hand, we can choose to become a completing agent, an active part of this emerging regenerative substrate.
So, this whole deep dive really leaves us with this one provocative question. The source argues that this new coordination plane isn't a matter of if, but when. And if that's true, it really leaves just one final question for all of us. What role are we going to choose to play in its emergence?